Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra 1 Unit 2.2 Notes. Today we're going to be talking about graphing relations by using a table of values. Our learning target today is to be able to graph a relation using a table of values, identify the domain and range of a relation from a table of values or graph, and to recognize whether a relation is a function by using the vertical line test. So we got a lot of stuff ahead of us, so let's go ahead and get started. If you look, we've already got the vocabulary written down. Miss Carranza was able to help us out today because she was tired of looking at my sloppy handwriting. A relation, whenever you think of the word relation, think of a relationship. And that is a pairing of input values and output values. Okay? So the input is known as the domain. Okay? So the domain is the input values, and that is your x values. All x's are the input. It's what you plug into a function. Okay? The range is the set of all the output, and those are your y values. Okay? So you plug something in, that's your x. You get something out, that's your y. Anytime they ask you to write these things down, you always write them in increasing order from the least to the greatest. Okay? All right. So let's go through an example right here. It says to graph the relation if needed. Identify the domain and range and be sure to write values in increasing order. So what they're asking us to do is to plot the points. So -4, 8. You go to the left -4 and we go up 8 and draw your point. -1, -3. 0, up 6. +3, -2. +7, +9. And there you go. All it asks you to do for that first part is just to graph. Okay? So the next wants to know what's the domain and what's the range. Well, we already talked that the domain, your input, is all of your x values. Okay, so we write x, that's semicolon, and then we do a bracket, which is one of the squigglies. Okay? Do your best job. I'm not very good at drawing them either. Miss Carranza is a pro. So all we have to do is write all of our x's, which are right here, in increasing order. And it's nice because they already are. So we have -4, -1, 0, 3, and 7. Okay? And now we're going to do the same thing with the y's. Okay? Now the only hard thing is they're not in increasing order at all. Okay? So you kind of got to search for them. The lowest number I see is -3. Then we've got a -2, +6, +8, and +9. Okay? And that's all you got to do. Let's look at number 2. So number 2, it just gives us the points. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick a point. We'll start with that pink one. We're going to figure out where it is, and it's at -7, +4. All right, let's pick another one. The blue one is at -2, 0. Okay. Oh, guys, I can't count. That first one is at -8. Mr. Grice can't count this morning. That's -8. I'm sorry. Okay. The red one. The red one is at 0, -7. Okay. So we got 2 more. We got a blue one, and we got a green one. Why don't you guys pause the video and see if you can write down what those 2 points are. Okay, good luck. Okay, for the blue one, you should have gotten 4, 9. And then for the green one, should have been 8, -4. Cool. Okay, but now I'm going to have you pause the video one more time because I want to see if you can tell me what the domain is and the range. Okay, remember to write those in increasing order. All right, let's pause the video and good luck. Okay, and there are the answers. How'd you do? Hopefully it was good. Now, let's move on to the next part. The next part is a function. Okay, and a function is a relation that doesn't have points directly above each other. And what we said is to check that is to use the vertical line test. This is one of my notes from earlier, but the vertical line test looks like this. Here's your graph. The vertical line test states that when you draw a line like that, there are no points that are on top of each other. So I can draw a vertical line and it'll touch no part of the line more than once. And if you can see, it only touches them once right there, okay? So that would pass the vertical line test. But if we had a line that looks, a graph that looked like that, a sideways parabola, when you do the vertical line test, see how it hits twice? Not a function, okay? And we'll have some graphs that are going to be looking a little funky. We can have graphs that look like this. But even when you do the vertical line test, if there's no place that it hits twice, then it's a function, okay? And those are things that you can tell just by looking at it, okay? So what we have to do here is it's asking us to graph each relation, identify the domain and the range, and then explain why it is or is not a function, okay? So let's do the first one together. Now remember that these points right here, we've got -10 and 9. Remember, that's a point, x comma y. So we go -10, +9. -7, -2. Okay, and we just plot them. -1, 0. 0, +6. 7, +6. Okay? And if we do the vertical line test by drawing a line, no matter where we draw that line, it only touches once, okay? So that's good news for us because it's a function. Let's go ahead and identify the domain and the range. So the domain is all of our x's, which is -10, -7, -1, 0, and 7. Remember, we get those all from the column right there. And then our range, this is the first time where this is going to happen, where we have two numbers that are the same. And when that happens, we don't have to write them twice, we just write them down once. That's it. Okay? So, is this a function? Well, yes, it's a function. And the reason it is because it passes the vertical line test. Okay, that's one reason it passes. And there's a second reason why it passes too. And the reason why it passes again is because no points are on top of each other. So yay! Okay, so number 4, what I'm going to ask you to do is graph the points yourself. Okay, and then write the domain and range down. And when we get back, we'll talk about whether it's a function or not. Okay? So go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. Okay, so there we go. How'd you guys do? Did you get all that? Now, is this a function? I'm drawing my, vertical line test. And how many points did I hit right there? I hit 2. Okay? So does this pass? No. Okay? And that is because we have the point -8, -5, and -8, 3 are above each other. And it failed the vertical line test. Okay, so there's 2 reasons why it failed. Okay? All right, let's flip it over. Now, graphing lines by using a table of values. When we're doing this, we want to choose 5 x values and use substitution to input them into the function. And what that says is make sure that your x values produce y values that will fit on the graph. Because we don't want to pick numbers that are too big. Okay? And then once we do that, we plot each ordered pair, the point, and connect them to form a line. Make sure your line is perfectly straight and it has arrows on both ends. Ms. Carranza and I are very picky about this. If we see graphs that don't look, the lines that look kind of like they're done by hand, we'll mark it wrong. Okay? Use your ID, use a ruler, use a straight edge, a book, a folded sheet of paper, guys. There's tons of stuff that you can use. Okay? So, let's go ahead and get started. Any line is a function. Okay? If it passes the vertical line test, no points directly above each other. Okay? So, what we're talking about for this, okay, we've got our line. Y equals 2x minus 5. What we need to do is pick numbers on the graph so we can graph it. And one of the numbers that we always want to graph is 0 and then a couple positives and a couple negatives. And almost 90% of the time, we're going to choose -2, -1, 1, and 2. Okay? Because those are the numbers we want to see. We've got a couple negatives, we got a 0, and we got a couple positives. Okay? Now, what we do is we use substitution. So y equals 2, we plug in our value, -5. Okay? And if you guys have a calculator, this is where you can do this work extremely fast. Okay? So I have 2 times -2 minus 5. And I can plug it straight into my calculator and get -9. Okay, and now I'm just going to do the same thing. 2 times -1. Whoops. Got to make sure I put -1 in there. -5. Get my answer. -7. Okay? We get -5 right there. And if you notice, you can start to see a pattern. Okay? 2 times 1 minus 5 gives me -3. 2 times, we're plugging in 2 minus 5 gives us -1. Okay? So now, we take those and we turn it into a line. Okay? -2, -9 right there. -1, -7. 0, -5. 1, -3. 2, -1. And if you look at that, does it make a perfectly straight line? You bet your keister it does. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get out my straight edge. You can't see it, but I've got the little mini ruler that comes in your assignment notebook. And you need to draw a perfectly straight line. And that was kind of wobbly, so I'm going to do it again. Okay? There we go. And it has to have the arrows, okay? You need arrows because you're drawing a line. Okay? All right, let's do 6 again together. All right? So the line that we're plugging into is y equals -3 plus 6. Okay? So we need numbers that fit the graph. So I'm going to start, last time we started with -2. I'm just going to check to see if that works. So I have -3 times -2 plus 6. Oh, see how that's too big? Because our graph only goes to 10. Okay? So I know that -2 is too big, so I'm going to use -1. And then 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay? And then we're doing the same thing. -3 times -1 plus 6 gives us 9. So we got -9. Whoops, not that. There we go. -3 times 0 plus 6 gives us 6. -3 times 1 plus 6. 3. See if you guys can fill the rest of this chart in yourself and graph. Go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. Okay, and there's my line. Now, if you notice, I had the wrong number right here. I had -9. And the reason why I knew it was wrong, because when I was graphing it, it was right here. Okay? And see, if it doesn't make a line, guys, we did something wrong. Okay? So always make sure that you have the arrows and your line is nice and straight. Okay. If you guys want to try 7 all by yourself, go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. You're plugging into y equals 4 minus 7. Oops. All right, good luck. Okay, and there you go. Now, if you notice this one, if you tried -1 or -2, both of those points should have been way too low, so they didn't work. So that's why we had to start with 0 on that one. Okay, number 8. Now, this is the first time that you're seeing a fraction in this, okay? And don't freak out because there's a fraction there, okay? Now, most of the time we'd be like, you'd start at 0, try -1, 1, and stuff like that. But what happens, so we got 1/2 times, I'm just going to pick 1, minus 8. Okay? When you plug that in, you get a decimal. And we don't want decimals in our answer. So how do we get rid of that? We don't want to have decimals when we're doing this. And here's the secret. Whatever the fraction is, that's what we want to count by. Okay? So if I have 0, I want to count by, what's my next number? 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay? And I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. We're going to count by 2's to get our answer. Okay? So go ahead and pause the video. I want you to plug in all those numbers, get the answers, and graph it. Think you can do that? Good luck. Okay, so you should get -10, which is right there. -2, -9, 0, -8, 2, -7, and 4, -6. Okay, Remember, if your line is not pretty and straight like this, you did something wrong. It's kind of like a self-check, which is wonderful because you know right away if you got it right or wrong. Okay? All right. So we're going to skip number 9, and we're just going to focus on 10. Okay? So we've got 0. What should we count by? 3. So 3, 6, and then -3, -6. Those are the numbers you need to plug in. Go ahead and pause the video. You're all on your own. Good luck. Okay, and there's your line. Just make sure when you're drawing your lines that they're nice and straight and they have the arrow. Oh, I guess that's the end of the bell saying that the lesson is over. If you have any questions, please come see Ms. Carranza or myself. Otherwise, that's the end of Algebra 1, Unit 2.2 notes. Thanks for watching.